Raina Troy Hotline.
Alicia, Michael, what's going on?
We know you have takes. We have takes.
I'm actually surprised that your rant line, rave line, whatever, isn't completely full.
Why can't we just win a game?
Can I blame Michael Castillo for this?
Can I blame Bob Connolly for this?
Could I put on a zebra shirt and just go out there? Scratch, claw, up against the wall.
Can't explain what I'm feeling right now, guys.
I can't believe it.
Let's open up that rave line! Woohoo!
Oh, I can't believe USC is undefeated in the SEC. Wait, we're in the Big Ten. What's our record? Oh, no!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Retro Radio, episode 590, coming to you on Wednesday, February 26th. We're going to talk about the latest in USC football, including a big month of February for the USC recruiting class in 2026. We're going to talk about that and so much more. As always, you can follow us on social media at Reign of Troy. Email us, reignoftroy@fanside.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227. Second Let's Bruin Show. I'm your host, Michael Castillo, joined with my co-host here in the Rant Line studio in Los Angeles, Alicia D'Artola.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. It's a weird week, huh?
Yeah, I mean, every week at this point it feels like a weird week, but that's a whole other thing.
We say Second What's Bruin Show, but I want to start with an apology.
Yes, a sincere apology.
A sincere apology to Jake, the What's Bruin Show. Mm-hmm. A little inside baseball. Of course, we're good friends with Jake. Jake and his whole family. We love his whole family. He comes over a fair bit for lunch. He messaged us 2 weeks ago, and then he couldn't come. Last week, couldn't come. Last night, he messages me. He's like, hey, I'm going to come bring lunch. Let me know what you want. I'm like, okay. So I give him my In-N-Out order. I am in the middle of sitting down to eat my lunch that I make today. And then I realize, because I get a text message from Jake, hey, I'm coming up right now. We forgot about Jake. How bad of people are we?
We are very bad people. I'm going to attribute it to puppy brain.
Sure.
But also I'm going to attribute it to you having more solidified plans in that regard than me. So I feel like I'm letting myself off the hook.
I mean, true. I think we could just blame it on him for sure. Like, he is the Bruin. He did, faulty planning the weeks before. Either way, we apologize. We salute you, Jake. I figured we'd apologize here so that way you would actually listen to it. But either way, Second What's Bruin Show. Lisa, what else is going on in your neck of the woods?
I feel like you're teeing me up for something that I'm
not actually.
You're not actually?
No.
What's going on in our neck of the woods right now is that Badger seems to understand that when he goes into the box next to me and we sit over here, he seems to now understand that this is nap time. Mm-hmm. So he has given us no trouble right now, which is lovely.
I think we should pretend that we're podcasting all the time.
Trust me, it might be a thing that we start incorporating because this is the easiest he's been in a while. So yeah, we're still in puppy mode. Jesse and Badger are getting along swimmingly, and I don't say that sarcastically. Like, they're playing and wrestling and bitey facing and all of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. All day long, which is great.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Alicia, you mentioned Badger. There's a lot of stuff going on, but no more than the hot stuff going over at Underdog, which I think is the perfect time to segue to talking about Underdog, which is where you can win up to 1,000 times your money making picks on your favorite NBA players there during the stretch run at Underdog, America's best daily fantasy app. It's a pick destination from your couch in the state you're in. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. The app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players across the country. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower than their stat projections, like points and rebounds in the NBA or goals, assists, and shots in the NHL. all your favorite leagues. They're on Underdog. For me this week, I'm going old school, Alicia. I'm picking some old school guys.
Okay.
Brooke Lopez. You remember him?
Wow. Okay, you weren't kidding about that.
Brooke Lopez. Yeah. Thursday, he's playing the Denver Nuggets. It's 18 points as a stat projection. I'm going lower. 18 points just seems a little high.
That feels a lot. Yeah.
I'm going lower. So that's my pick of the week for you over on Underdog. You can join us, of course, over on Underdog. Download the app. Sign up using the promo code Reign of Troy to unlock a special offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join us in on the fun when you sign up with promo code Reign of Troy. Claim your special offer today and give it to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 years or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 years or older in Colorado for some games, 21 or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado for some games. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. And in New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. Alicia, a lot of stuff to get to, so let's get to the news. Alicia, recruiting at USC is en fuego, muy caliente, muchos hot. SC is the number one recruiting class in the 24/7 Sports Composite for 2026. The momentum really working in their favor. We know that SC has reconfigured the recruiting front office and all of that stuff. They currently have 11 commitments, number one in overall rank, number one in composite rank. They're number one in everything right now, number one in the Big Ten, number one in the nation, all of that stuff. A couple big guys, committing in the past week or so. 4-star defensive lineman, Simote Katawanga from Rancho Santa Margarita, the Eagles. He committed on February 23rd. 6'5", 240 pounds, player Angulo, and this is via Gerard Martinez at USCFootball.com, said Ketawanga's recruitment is a perfect reflection of what USC is doing right now on the recruiting trail. He grew up in a USC family with connections to the program. USC wasn't way behind offering him. If you're not able to get a player like that in your own backyard, it mirrors how your recruiting is going. Katawanga is a great name.
It's beautiful. Simote Katawanga. It
rolls.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. And he's a really exciting prospect with a really high ceiling. He's going to need to obviously put on some weight, but this is the kind of player that USC should be keeping home and then developing and seeing what they can get out of him. Mm-hmm. He ranks, I want to say, in 58th nationally in this class or thereabouts.
59th,
yeah. So he, I think it was very interesting, and I would encourage anyone to go on USCFootball.com if they can to read Gerard Martinez's article about how this commitment is a bit of a sign that USC is doing things right, because in that article, Gerard does a good job of laying out some missteps that USC has had with past local recruits who grew up USC fans who they kind of slow played, didn't give enough attention, focused on out of state guys too much, and then tried to circle back around to them late on and couldn't necessarily seal the deal. So there's been a lot of praise with Katawanga in the sense of he is somebody who USC should not even have a question that they're bringing in when he is a USC fan growing up, looking at all of the Polynesian stars that USC has had and looking up to them. And USC needs to make sure that they are, leveraging that in recruiting. And we've had a lot of conversations over the last couple of years about where the recruiting philosophy comes in. You and I both are not opposed to USC working out of state in terms of finding recruits. Recruiting is as national as ever been, and bringing in the best guys possible is job number one. I think the big issue that I had, and that I think was very reasonable on the local recruiting front, is that go out and search the nation for the best guys that you can, but don't neglect Southern California. Don't or California in general. Don't assume that you will be able to get these guys who grew up USC fans, or who have family who are USC fans, or sort of have been around USC. Don't assume that you're just going to be able to snap your fingers and they're going to come, because recruiting is as national as ever been, and other schools are looking to pull talent out of Southern California. So it really feels like the philosophical change that USC has had, bringing in the GM and restructuring the recruiting structure at the program, has really allowed them to refocus on the local guys, while also not ignoring the national. I think you can do both. You just have to have enough resources and personnel to be able to handle it. And what we're seeing now is USC seems to be much more equipped to do both, to compete for national recruits while also making sure that the guys who are closer to home are treated, in a way that entices them to stay home. And Gerard basically lays this out as like the fact that USC has added Katawanga and a couple weeks ago now, Andrew Williams from Fremont. He's a 3-star edge. Another guy that they talk about in that article about how this was not the kind of offer that USC has given in this under this staff. It's a little bit of a flyer on a local guy, but those are the swings you need to be able to take locally, and you can get a lot. You can yield great results from taking those swings if you do them right. And it felt like USC wasn't doing them at all. So, just really positive changes. Yeah,
and all I got to say is I am very disappointed that Dennis Packer is not still the PA announcer at the Coliseum, because I would love to hear Dennis Packer say Samote Katawanga. Because if you remember, Kenichi Udeze, like that was so good. And the sack, Katawanga, like wouldn't that be great? It would be great. It would be absolutely
it would
great.
Be wonderful.
Yeah, Katawanga was someone who was really pursued by Notre Dame. SC is basically, taken away all the guys and gals from Notre Dame's recruiting.
Chad Bowden effect.
Recruiting staff. Yeah, not just Bowden, but like everybody else that Bowden has brought along, either from Notre Dame directly or somebody who had worked with Notre Dame in the past. And that certainly helps. Not just him, though. It's not just Katawanga. 4-star quarterback Jonas Williams out of Frankfort, Illinois. Committed to the Trojans, flipped to the Trojans from Oregon. Look at that, from Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can get a flip from Oregon, that feels like a good thing, right? USC continues to directly compete with Oregon for the best available players, and that is what Jonas Williams is. He has a lot of potential. He can run. He can throw. I think more than anything, being able to, number one, show the impetus to flip from Oregon means that you were willing to go out there and sort of offer the same things that Oregon does, which USC hasn't necessarily been willing to do recently. But also, this one's very interesting from a philosophy perspective, too, because Jonas Williams is a quarterback in the class of 2026, and USC has had some weird quarterback situations, not just under Lincoln Riley, but going back forever. The difficulty of juggling, elite quarterbacks and backup plans and all of these kinds of things. The chatter has been that USC has been all in on Ryder Lyons, Walker Lyons' brother. He's the number 2 quarterback in the class. And that's certainly somebody that, I mean, it's obvious USC wants him to sign. But you also potentially always run into a Juju Lewis situation where you get a commitment and then, you feel like you're getting strung along and you don't feel like, that the player is sort of ready to lock in with you, and then that leaves you in a limbo, and then you're trying to scramble with other prospects later on and doing the thing that I was talking about earlier where you weren't paying enough attention to those guys, and then you end up sort of competing from behind when you need to find your backup plan and all this kind of stuff. Like, it just creates a mess. But that's USC under Lincoln Riley has generally recruited only one quarterback at a time. And so it's very fascinating that USC takes a commitment from Jonas Williams, not just takes a commitment, flips a commitment from Jonas Williams, while also presumably still pursuing Ryder Lyons. I think that shows that USC doesn't want to get caught with their pants down anymore on the quarterback front. I certainly wouldn't mind USC having a situation where they manage to bring in both Jonas Williams and Ryder Lyons, and I don't know how realistic that is. But the Malachi Nelson situation has really highlighted that you can't pin your succession plan on just one guy, because that one guy might A, not work out, or B, go somewhere else, or C, something else random can happen. So Jonas Williams, it's not just that he's a good player and that there's a lot to like about him, and there's some intriguing sort of ability that he has, but also taking his commitment at all does signal a philosophical change that Lincoln Riley didn't seem to be following in the past, for better or for worse. I mean, there's a reason that coaches sometimes target in on one quarterback, because you can scare a guy off if you're pursuing too many others at that position. So it's sort of there's a sweet spot, and I would hope with this that USC is able to find it.
Yeah, 100%. And looking at the recruiting class, SC now has a couple of guys from Illinois. Braden Jones from Mount Carmel in Chicago. And then, of course, Jonas Williams as well. The other commitment that SC got this month that we didn't talk about before, 3-star edge Andrew Williams from John C. Fremont, which, when this happened, I think that I asked you if you knew where Fremont was, and I feel like you said...
I do not.
Where did you say? Did you have a guess?
I do not know where Fremont is.
It's like off the harbor at like Gage or something like that.
So it's in the South Bay.
No, that is not the South Bay.
Okay, what's the South Bay?
The South Bay is everything from LAX.
Oh wait, no. This is in NorCal. So the bay that you're talking. Okay, sorry.
No, it's not. That's Fremont, the city.
Oh,
we're talking about John C.
Fremont
High School. Yeah, it's LAUSD, baby.
Okay,
city school.
Well,
yeah. Anyways, Andrew Williams, 3-star edge rusher, LA kid, obviously. And, you look at the class makeup so far. There's only 4 out-of-state dudes out of the 11. I feel like that's a ratio that would make a lot of people happy, personally. Xavier Griffin, number 1 guy so far in the class from Gainesville, Georgia. You have Sean Alston from Paynesville, Ohio, which is beautiful. As far as Ohio City names go, and then a bunch of LA and California kids, which is sort of what everyone's been clamoring for, right?
Yeah, and again, it's about finding the gems in your backyard, because they're just easier to hold on to. I know taking big 5-star swings out in Georgia or in Texas is great, but you should be able to take those swings while also looking locally, building relationship with local coaches, so that when there's an under-the-radar recruit that you can take advantage of. And it feels very much like Andrew Williams is one of those guys. I mean, he's a 3-star. He's not a guy that like everybody's going to be going after, but clearly they've seen enough in him to say, well, let's take a chance on him. Let's go for it. And that's what USC needs to be doing at a rate that they either weren't willing or weren't capable of doing over the last couple of years. So not that this is like totally fixes everything, or USC hasn't been offering local 3-star guys at all, but it does feel at this stage in the cycle, it does just feel like more of the sign that USC is doing things right.
Yeah, 100%. Also, Doug Belk currently ranked the number 2 recruiter in the country, according to 24/7 Sports recruiter rankings. He has 4 commitments in the class. And then the other big thing lately is House of Victory had its most successful day of public fundraising on Monday, February 24th.
Yeah, USC on Monday came out with they did a bunch of social media graphics, and coaches and staffers and personnel and all that kind of stuff were tweeting and everything, making a push for House of Victory donations. And it clearly paid off because they've got, I think, more of the fan base engaged. And it's nice because it's a lot easier. As we've always said, it's not that USC doesn't have the funds or doesn't have, an alumni base or a fan base that isn't capable of funding, a war chest, an NIL war chest to the brim. USC does not have an NIL sugar daddy the way that Oregon does, or Oklahoma State does, or what, any of that. But that doesn't mean that USC can't be competitive on the NIL front. The problem that USC runs into is that USC gives fans and donors a million reasons to not give the program money because it's, poorly run too often.
Right.
And I think that the new additions, the GM hires, the staff underneath him, swinging for the fences on just a bunch of those people in that structure, and then having a successful junior day, and then bringing in commitments from local kids who were, grew up USC fans. And then, all of those kinds of things just starts to build up a level of positivity that this program sorely needed. And so I'm not surprised that this was the most successful day of public fundraising for House of Victory, because this is the most that USC has done since hiring Lincoln Riley to instill confidence in this program.
Yeah, 100%. The key, of course, is these are spring commitments, right? And you got to be able to take the commitments you get in the spring, hold them throughout the season, and then land them at either one of the signing days, right? And last year, SC had issues with that. There was Justice Terry, Isaiah Gibson, those guys from Georgia. SC got commitments, felt good about themselves, thumped their chests last spring. Not too completely dissimilarly to what's going on now, the exception being the structure and the personnel and the front office and all that is in a much better place now than it was 12 months ago. But how different is this group of, early commits compared to last year? Because we've been here before, and in a lot of ways, I think it's something a lot of SC fans could sort of look at this.
Yeah, I mean, closing strong is the hard part. I think that USC fans will remember staffs that were very, very good at closing strong. Pete Carroll, obviously, Steve Sarkisian and Lincoln and Lane Kiffin were exceptional at closing a class. Obviously, a different sort of landscape of college football, but this staff hasn't necessarily had that same level of success when it comes to holding on to their biggest like commitment gets. To me, the big difference here is that USC swung for the fences on big 5-star defensive linemen from Georgia that I'd always felt they were going to have an uphill climb to hang on to. And, they would have had to put a lot of a huge amount of their resources into trying to convince these guys to stick around. NIL resources, time resources, all of that kind of stuff, when just the mere fact of where they were coming from, what was motivating them, all of that was never in USC's favor. So it was impressive that Eric Henderson was able to get them to commit in the first place, but he can't work miracles to a certain degree. The difference here is you just look at the makeup of USC's 2026 class right now, and they have 4 top 100 recruits, according to 24/7. The top one is Xavier Griffin from Georgia. So, again, you're trying to hang on to a guy from across the country. That won't be easy. But the next 3 are RJ Sermons from Rancho Cucamonga, Simote Karawanga from Santa Margarita, and Brandon Lockhart from Loyola. So these are local kids. These are local kids who, yeah, maybe you might lose them too, but it's just a whole lot easier to hang on to a commitment from a guy who lives down the freeway than a guy who is out with, Georgia and Florida and Auburn and everybody in his ear all day long out in the South. So, like, to me, that's the big difference is USC locking down some high level California talent is this early is just simply more likely to hold on to them. You look at like last year, and USC pulls a rabbit out of a hat getting Hassan Longstreet, but even that was late in the game. That was a final minute Hail Mary to hope that they could turn around after sort of giving up on Juju Lewis to get the local kid to come to USC. That's not always going to happen. And for instance, like Madden Farimo is a guy that USC should have had locked up the way that Karanga is now theoretically locked up, but USC didn't pay him mind early enough in the cycle to get an early commitment and to do all these things. So I don't know. It obviously could turn out the same way. It absolutely could be. If you're USC, you have to always have your foot on the pedal. I just think it's more realistic to keep your foot on the pedal when you're trying to hold on to local kids who have way more reason to stay. Like, when you get a commitment from a guy in Florida or Georgia, his family is going to be there. His family and friends are going to be there talking about how he's going to be gone. When you get a commitment from a guy in Santa Margarita, like, his friends and family are going to like, isn't it great that you're staying home?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that, is another reason why people have been wanting the California commitments, right? In part because you look back and Ron Verney says competition at any position is a good thing. That's what we had under Pete Carroll. Yeah, because when you think of the Pete Carroll era, when you think of, success at SC, you think of the guys from Mater Dei and Santa Margarita and all those schools, Long Beach Poly and all of that. And being able to have them close helps you actually finish off the recruiting there. You look at the guys that SC has missed for the most part. It's guys that they didn't have committed sort of at the beginning anyways, right?
Right. And, the other thing about like making sure that you're taking care of the local area is that you build relationships with the local area. I mean,
right.
Some of the stuff we were reading about Chad Savage, the new wide receivers coach, who is a very respected West Coast recruiter. Part of that is because he has relationships with coaches in Southern California. And you don't get those relationships unless you are offering their kids, scouting their kids, bringing in their kids, and proving to them that you're going to do right by their kids. And every guy from Rancho Cucamonga that you bring in makes it more likely you'll get the next guy from Rancho Cucamonga. Every guy you bring in from Loyola makes it more likely that you're going to get the next guy from Loyola, and so on and so forth. So, Bosco and Sierra Canyon are 2 others that USC has commitments from, with Joshua Holland from Bosco and Madden Reardon and Jamiron Baker from Sierra Canyon. Like, these are all guys that you can continue to build off of and just create those pipelines that it feels like USC has sort of lost the idea of a pipeline.
Right.
And the thing is, like, when you have the pipeline, then it's like USC put the cart before the horse. USC under Pete Carroll was able to take the swings that they did on the highly rated national guys, the All-American recruits that USC pushed for across the country. You're able to make the push for those guys because you have established a pipeline that allows you to have to put in less work theoretically with your local commits, with your local recruits. But USC was in a position where like the local pipelines had dried up. This new staff comes in, doesn't make an effort to rebuild those pipelines, and then gets surprised when, no oil is flowing through. Mm-hmm. You have to work at creating those pipelines so that, in 2-3 years, when you have all the momentum with the Rancho Cucamonga star that you want, and the coach is comfortable with your staff, and the player has seen teammates and friends go to USC and is much more comfortable with all of that kind of stuff, and you're also sweetening the pot with the correct amount of NIL, then you can just get that commitment and then not worry about it anymore and spend more of your time trying to reach for the sky with the 5-star guy from Texas that just is a lot more difficult to land. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And SC, if they can put it all together and continue to recruit this well, and you couple that with any sort of gains on the field, which is, of course, the biggest question mark for Lincoln Riley and his staff going forward, then you can start to build blocks. And if you keep doing that, you're going to get more NIL money. More NIL money means more recruits. It all stacks on top of each other. It all sort of nestles in one another and goes on. Last thing before we move on, Josh Pate, really high on SC right now. Said, make no mistake, they've got the right people in the building. I do believe very special things are around the corner at SC. I believe in the future of the program more than I did this time a year ago. This is interesting to me because I think this is a sentiment that a lot of people have. We talked about it before, that SC has this knack for, like, even after a down season, a season in which they lost 6 games, sort of pulling you back in and believing again in the off season. This is something that SC continues to do over and over and over again. But now it even seems like these are truly the right hires personnel wise that they've made in order to, continue to build the roster and all that kind of stuff. But like, this is going to sound weird, but how much of this is because the on-field product, even in a down season, passed some eye tests? Like, does that play any role in it for you? Like, mostly defensively, right? Because like, SC lost 6 games. They went 6-6 in the regular season. It wasn't good enough. That's never going to be good enough. All that stuff. Don't think for a second I'm saying otherwise. I guess what I'm saying is, like, there was proof of concept on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that shows that, like, there was a glimmer of Lincoln himself can sort of make the right hires in his staff. Still, obviously, a lot of stuff to go, a lot of gains to go on offense. But, like, now you couple that with the recruiting hires that everybody likes and everybody supports. Like, what? That plays a role in buying into all of this, right? Because
yes.
If he would have followed up the Grinch hire with an equally bad hire on the defensive side of things, I think it would be very difficult to continue to buy in, even with the recruiting polls, right? Am I crazy?
No, absolutely. And I think buy-in is important. I know that as Fighting on MSC says, I get sucked in every year, and I think this is the year for a natty. Yeah, fans, we just get absolutely, like, we're fodder
for... I'm out, they pull me back.
Yeah, straight up. Every single year. But I think there's something to be said, too, for, like, what that kind of belief and optimism and positivity does for a team... like the team itself going into the season, the coaching staff itself going into the season.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for the the idea that despite 7-6, despite all of those close losses, you can still come out of the season feeling more or less positively in a way. I think it mattered. I don't think USC beats LSU if they don't beat if they don't win the Holiday Bowl the way that they did. That kind of USC came into that game feeling like they were capable of being on the field against that team, and they were. Obviously, things went downhill from there, but that belief still needs to happen. And this year, I think that you can really turn that Texas A&M Bowl victory into positivity through the offseason. But you have to be able to continue to reinforce that 7-6 was not because USC was terrible, but it was that USC was unlucky, and that might not be the case. I hope it is the case that USC was just unlucky
and unable to finish their game.
Right, it's like a step away.
It's not just unlucky,
right? Unlucky, but also close. Right. There's
but that story gets written in what happens this year.
This year, yes,
beyond, right?
but what happens this year happens because of in part happens as a part of the momentum of an off season of feeling like you've got recruiting under control, feeling like you're a well-run organization, being able to target recruits and transfer portal guys as that comes through, to sort of add up, feeling like, the defense is getting sorted out and they have brought in the reinforcements that they need to, and they can go out and be successful, and feeling like, Jaden Mayava is, was a work in progress last year, but he's going to be ready to come out and be the quarterback that this offense needs to thrive, and feeling those kinds of things going into the season. I think it helps. I don't think it hurts to drum up some positivity and belief, especially for the right reasons, especially because you went out and made the right hires, because you've created the right structure, because the feedback you're getting from people on the recruiting trail, coaches, players, media, everything like that is all positive. Josh Pate isn't making this statement because he just saw the headlines of USC hiring Chad Bowden and the guys that the guys and girls that USC hired for that staff, and thinking oh yeah, that's so great. He's making this statement because I guarantee you he's hearing in the background from people saying, "No, USC's done a really good job here." Legitimately, Chad Bowden's a really good hire. Chad Savage is a really good hire. The Zaire. I forget her last name, but you know what I mean. That these are all really good hires, and that there's this sort of air of positivity around a program that, frankly, has no business having a single air of positivity around the program. And if you watch the Josh Pate video, which I would recommend, you can find it on Twitter, but he talks about how this is not going to be a popular opinion, because nationally, no one's going to give USC the benefit of the doubt, and they don't deserve the benefit of the doubt because they've not given anybody nationally reason to believe. But if you're local, or if you're sort of tuned into the program and starting to see the strides that the program is making, USC is one of those rare programs that you can flip a switch and have success. This is something that, just look at, and I'm not comparing any of this, but Pete Carroll takes over a program that was in the dumps, and it takes one season for him to turn USC into national title contender. And, you can't do that at every program.
Right.
Because every program out there even in the bad times isn't recruiting at the level that USC tends to recruit at, even in the bad times, and doesn't have that sort of air to them. So it is sort of a unique thing to USC and a few other of the blue blood programs out there, but it does just take getting a few things right to suddenly have things go well. And that's why we get sucked in every year, to be honest, because we have seen getting one or two things right means a 10-win season. Right. Over and over and over again. It's just, those 10-win seasons come every 5 years, and it's very frustrating, but if you have the right quarterback, like 2016, if you have right quarterback like 2022, these things, you have the right running backs and you have the right mixture of talent on both sides of the ball, that can come about very, very quickly if you get things right, and USC just like is not consistent with getting things right, but still has remained relatively capable of getting things right. What I would argue, and I know I'm rambling on this episode and I apologize, but what I would argue is that it's like the concept of like make your own luck, right? Mm-hmm. So you and I could go out on a basketball court and chuck a ball up towards the hoop a bunch of times from, the logo, and we could eventually make one just by sheer chance.
Sure.
Steph Curry can go take a shot from the logo and makes it consistently because he is good at doing that, right? Mm-hmm. So some of USC's success has just been blindly chucking a ball at the hoop and it going through. But if you tried it another 20 times, you're going to miss. Where what you want to be as a program is, programs like, in recent years, Alabama, Georgia, I'd say, LSU over the course of a couple decades, Ohio State and Michigan over the course of a couple decades. Those are programs that have been more consistently in the mode of like they make the shot because they're good at making the shot.
They put themselves in the position to make an easier shot.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And that's something that USC hasn't done, but USC is still always capable of making that shot. It's just about turning it into making it consistently because USC's technique was good and and rather than just, close your eyes and throw it up and see what happens.
Tournament. And if you seeded it, so that way, just to say that there were seeds, so you wouldn't get the unfortunate, miraculous unluck of having to face a bunch of NBA players. It would take 33 rounds to get from the 7 billion or however many people are living in the world down to 1. 33 rounds. Good old, 2 to the whatever power, right? 33rd power, I guess.
It's crazy to me it would only take 33 rounds.
Well, yeah, this is like the thing of like if you fold a piece of paper 50 times, it'll be as tall as it takes to get to the moon or whatever. Which sounds insane, but mathematically it makes sense. Anyways, 33 rounds to get to the last man to face Luka Doncic or whoever it is that's going to be the last man there. How many rounds could you get through?
Okay, I've put a little bit more.
Facing every human in the world.
Yeah, I've put a little bit more thought into this since you and I discussed.
Sure.
I think I could. Let's put a gun to your head. If you project that you will get further than you do, you die for some stakes.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm
just saying. Gun to my head. I think I could say 1 round. And my reasoning is this.
1 round?
1 round.
I think you're crazy.
My reasoning is this. 1 round, unless I am very unlucky and happen to be the person that gets matched up with an NBA player in round 1.
We're saying this is truly seeded.
It's truly seeded. Okay. Yeah. So I would be sort of matched up with.
But like wait, if it's truly seeded, no, that means
I would potentially. Well, no, because
either way, you're not going to face that. We're just going to say you're not going to face that level until you get there.
Right. So my thought is, if in the first round I play somebody who is closer to or under my level,
sure,
I think I have a decent chance based on the number of human beings on this planet for who I get seated up next to being closer to what I am, considering that we're going to include like toddlers and 90-year-olds and all this kind of stuff who are going to get destroyed by the NBA players. I'm going to be sort of more in the sort of lower middle, just of all the humans on the planet. So
I think you're underselling me.
So I win 1 game, but one game. But when you consider that the next round you are playing another person who won their first game.
Yes.
Which to me indicates that my likelihood of winning that game is like cut in half. Because I think I could win. I'm not preface all of this. I'm bad at basketball. I love basketball. I wish I was good at basketball. I can't make a shot to save my life. I don't shoot properly. I'm just like, my form is terrible. I can barely dribble, all that kind of stuff. Right. So I think I could win one round on the basis of having played basketball before in my life, you know? But then the next round, I'm going to be playing another person who was good enough at playing basketball that they won their game, which just to me just signals that like whatever advantage I might have had in the first round is gone. And then the reality of my ability as a basketball player. Number one, I'm 5'4". Number two, I can barely dribble and can't, make a shot to save my life.
Yes. But you're going to be going up against like a mechanic from Romania. You know what I mean? Like,
right. But if that mechanic from Romania is 6'2" and even slightly athletically,
maybe he's got a limp.
I mean, maybe he dribbles like Michael Scott in The Office. Like maybe I'd have a chance there. It's entirely possible. Now, what I will say is I'm not good at scoring, but playing basketball growing up, the thing that I was good at to a point, or at least whether it's a question of are you good or are you just determined and competitive, which I am competitive and determined when playing games, right. Is I was like a gnat around whoever I was guarding. Like I drove people crazy in my middle school basketball leagues because I was all over it, and I'd foul out pretty much every other game. So that's part of it. But I do think that would give me the slightest edge in that I not only have played basketball in my life, but I don't think it would be particularly simple for the below average basketball player to like dribble past me.
See, I think you are overestimating how capable the average person in the world is. I think that
no, because I think that if I ended up matched up with a person who has never played basketball before but has played soccer all their life, I think their athletic talent alone will overcome my. I mean, I am just not an athletic human being.
But also, like, okay, let's just say I looked it up. It's 8 billion people in the world.
Okay,
8 billion people in the world. So, how many of that do you think are children? 2 billion.
Yeah.
And how many people do you think of old people? Like 1 billion? Maybe 2 billion itself. You know what I mean? Like that's half the population right there.
I want to see what percentage of the human population is like at what height? Like what percentage of the human population am I taller than?
It's probably like 30%.
Then 5'4". What percentage of the human population?
Maybe 40%.
Okay, the percentage of this is the generated shit on Bing. The percentage of human population shorter than 5'4" varies by country and gender. In the United States, a height percentile of 75% means that 75% of the relevant population is shorter than that height. Hold on.
The point is, I'm saying I think you could win at least like 3-4 rounds. At least. You don't think so?
I don't think so.
Like the number of people in the world who even know what basketball is not as many as you think.
Okay, hold on.
Like we're including 50, all people in the world.
The problem is that these calculations I can only do by like male or female. Sure. So I am taller than 50% of all women in the U.S.
Okay. And then you're probably taller than like,
and I'm taller than 3.5% of all the men in the U.S. So let's say I'm taller like worldwide, accounting for the fact that the U.S. tends to be taller. Like, let's say I'm taller than like
40%.
No, I'd say probably like maybe 60%.
That's a lot.
Well, no, because remember, like the average height in the U.S.
is Sure. Either way, I'm just saying that there's a lot of people. Like, we're talking about uncontacted tribes of North Sentinel Island are included
but no,
in this thing.
Those people would literally kill me first. Like,
well, yes, but let's say that they couldn't kill you. They had to play the game. They're not beating you.
This is actually super funny.
They might be more athletic, but they've never played basketball. Don't know how basketball works.
I am learning so much. The average height of the human male
in the world?
In the world is wait, hold on. This was in
this is riveting.
This is in 1996. So no, here we go. The average male height worldwide is 5'9". Okay. The average female height worldwide is 5'4". So I am literally average height for a woman.
Right.
Across the board.
Sure.
So let's say like
you don't think you can win like 3 rounds?
I don't think so. No, I think at most, if I got lucky, it'd be 2. If I got no, you are underestimating the athleticism that I will potentially face.
The vast majority of people in the world are not athletic. Not athletic.
I am not athletic either.
Yes, but like again, this includes all able and non-able people. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
Children,
but again,
babies, elderly
hold on. This is why my argument is what it is, because by the second round, you will have played somebody.
You will have eliminated the babies and the elderly.
Yes, you will have eliminated the babies and the elderly and the people who can't literally play basketball, who are literally not capable of taking a ball and putting it into a hoop.
So after the first round, you eliminate the babies and the very elderly. Sure.
Yes.
I will give you that. But then you're with people like who still maybe don't play sports. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm just saying the average person in the entire world has probably never played basketball. The average person. How many people watch basketball on the regular out of the 8 billion people? Maybe 1 billion? If that? There's a lot of people in the world.
But how do I know that I'm not going to get paired up in the second round with some dude from the Philippines who has been a basketball, I was just listening.
Maybe you could.
I was just listening to Pablo Torre finds out about the Filipino basketball league. So.
I give you at least three wins because I'm taking 3 wins.
Okay, I will
3
concede
wins is more than safe.
I will concede that I think 2 wins is certainly within the bounds of possibility. I think by the time we get to the 3rd round, I do not think I could win because now you're facing
the 3rd
people
round
who have won 2 games.
Yeah. No, for sure. That makes sense. I did see somebody. I wish I had my phone in front of me, which I don't, so I could give credit for this TikTok. But there was somebody in the comments that said by the 8th round, all high school basketball players will be playing. Like that's the level.
Right.
Is the 8th round where you get to just high school basketball players left.
And high school basketball players would smoke me. So
yeah, but you wouldn't get that far.
No.
I don't know. I just find basketball to be such an interesting sport because it's the sport that theoretically everybody can play. Everybody, you and me included, can go out and make a 3-pointer right now if we need to. It might take 20 shots, but we're going to make a 3-pointer. You know what I mean? Like we can make a free throw. But the difference at the same time, there's only 100 players in the world who are truly really, 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 really good to the point of being like a starter in the NBA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. That's crazy. All right. Let's wrap this thing up with the mailbag.
You've got mail.
All right. Last thing. Email from Tony. Michael, Alicia, this is Tony from Denora, PA. We flipped Jonas Williams, and today we got Katawanga. The 2026 class is looking good. Also, I watched the podcast, and you guys touched on the new CFP that's coming in 2026. I don't like it at all. I'm not big on auto bids, and I don't like what the Big Ten and SEC is doing to the other conferences. They are being bullies on the block. Also, you can throw in ESPN on that too. The playoff was supposed to bring more teams to the picture, but the Big Ten and SEC want all the spots. That's not a playoff. That's called an invitational. Fight on. I
100% agree.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
I think that's a brilliant to call it an invitational.
If you're going to have 13 of the 14 spots be auto bids, it is an invitational. Yes. 100%. It just is what it is. We got comments on YouTube. Matthew said from last week, the majority of the controversy about this playoff seeding was a result of Ohio State losing to Michigan. They were clearly better than their seeding. With 2 losses, they didn't deserve a better seeding. Having them with the low seeding, it stacked to that part of the bracket, which happened to be where number 1 Oregon was sitting. College football plays out very differently every year. Next year's seeding won't play out the same when using the same system. We went through this in the BCS era where they would tweak the system every year with the deluded idea that they would find the perfect system that will work for every year without controversy. The thing this year's system accomplished for the first time ever is that every team that had a legit chance to play for the championship was included. Yes. I am all for tweaking the system to find the best system in just a general theory sense. But they did this with the BCS. Miami got screwed that one year. Oh, well, then we're gonna take out straight the schedule, and then Auburn got screwed. Well, then we're gonna have the Harris poll or whatever it is, right? Like, it's all these different things that factor in, and you got to change it every single time. And it's ridiculous because, like Matthew says, college football plays out differently every year. This is why the Michael method works.
Yeah, but this is why I think it's silly to do like the commenter said, like, to change it every year based on who got screwed over the year before, recognizing that, like, no one's, like, the chances of somebody being screwed over in the exact same way that Ohio State got screwed over or Alabama this year, they're very, very minimal. Like, it's very unlikely that Boise State will be in a position to steal a bye again. It was just a fluke that happened that the ACC champion was ranked below, a Boise State team that had one of the best running backs that we've seen in several decades on their football team. Like,
when was the last time a G5 running back was a Heisman finalist?
Who was the guy who...
D'Angelo Williams, maybe?
The guy who, like, set the records.
Memphis?
Yeah.
D'Angelo Williams?
Was it D'Angelo Williams? Is that his name?
Did Michael Turner? Was he a Heisman finalist?
I don't know.
I know the guy from Navy, Keenan Reynolds.
Yes.
But he was a running quarterback. But, like, what I'm saying is, like, those things are so insanely rare, right? Like, it's a rare scenario, and every season is a rare scenario because you have 133 teams in FBS, right? Like, yes, the scenarios are relatively similar from year to year when in terms of how many Big Ten teams are there, how many SEC teams are there, just in a very general counting sort of way. But when you have so many conferences and so many teams, there's always going to be one or two teams that doesn't conform to how you expect everything else to play out, which is why every single season has a different scenario, and which is why you can't account for every single season by changing something from the year before, because then you get to the next year and then the thing that you changed maybe was for the worst because it fixed an old problem and created a new one.
Can we also just be, like, happy that we had a playoff system this year that crowned a champion while giving all teams of the same brands of teams, or not brands, like classifications of teams that have been getting screwed over for decades because of the limited sort of championship competition opportunities, that we created a college football playoff field that allowed a team like Ohio State, which we can all agree was one of the best teams in the country, had the same slip up against their rival that USC had in 2006. Sorry, 2006, yeah. And still got the chance to prove that they were one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah.
Why are we changing the seeding situation when Ohio State went from an 8 seed to win. Like that proves the point that an 8 seed can go on to win. Like,
right. This is the thing that I don't understand either, is that like, it's like a reaction to Boise State and ASU getting the bye weeks, but like they still lost.
Well, and no, that's a great point too. Why are these conferences fighting for a bye week when every single team that was on a bye week lost their first game?
Right, with the exception of Texas, who had to pull it out in overtime.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Texas beat.
They pulled it out of their ass.
Yeah, they had to pull it out of their ass. Like it was.
They should have lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like again, it just let the damn field, with a 12-team field is a good field. Let that field determine the champion. Stop tweaking and adjusting and all that kind of stuff. Just keep it simple and just roll.
I don't know. Anyways.
Anywho, I wanted to bring up that USC is a finalist for the Uniswag Throwback Uniform of the Year. And go vote for USC and let's go win something.
Yeah. All right. That'll wrap us up. We'll be back next week. And we'll talk more USC football and so much more. It'll be in March. Spring football coming right around the corner. So I'm sure we'll talk about that and everything else coming up. So until then, we will see ya. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.